Hello, everyone, and welcome to round 3 of the 2022 European Open. We've got your FPO lead card coverage coming at you. Front 9, and I'm Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, joined alongside Hannah Macbeth.
Hi, everyone.
We're back at the Beast. It's not getting any easier, that's for sure. In fact, quite the opposite, Hannah.
Yeah, today's moving day, so we might see a little bit more aggression and, like I said, some moving. We're going to kick things off, as always, with hole number 1. It's fine. 322-foot par 3 with an elevated basket at the end. Triple Mando immediately off the tee. Hasn't proven to be a problem. I think it's mostly just decoration at this point, which is good, but... So we've got this fairway that goes straight, fades down slightly to the left, and then you've got a quick green. So what I've been noticing and suggesting from the booth, straight to slightly overstable disc for the right-handed backhand player. Want to go carry about 250 feet, then fade down to the left. Again, quick green. So we've seen it a couple times. Haven't seen too many crazy things happen on this green. So I think a lot of nerves heading into the final round. But look at this card. Or sorry, third round.
Well, it saved the final round. Spoilers, bro.
I'm just excited, I guess.
Certainly are. And Eveliina Salonen ready to go here on the tee of 1.
This is a great carry. Making good use of those wood chips. Just want to throw whatever you have confidence in to hit the line. It's nice to see Paige Pierce out here, and that's a great shot.
Inside the circle, just left of the basket, pin high.
We saw Catrina Allen yesterday get off to some struggles, not necessarily on the first or second hole, but it seemed like once they entered the woods, everything sort of went against her. So I'm excited to see if, not necessarily that it happens again, but just how strong her mental game will prove here at the Beast in day 3. Cat Mertsch just coming up a bit short, but still hitting the right line.
I feel like either you want to be a bit long on this hole or way back where Cat is, because then it takes the temptation out of running at a putt. Sometimes you'll find yourself in that 35, 40-foot range, looking downhill, little danger behind the basket. It might be a blessing in disguise to be as far back as she was.
Okay, and kicking things off was our 5-time world champion, Paige Pierce.
Right out of her hand.
Anytime she wears that outfit, she's just hard to beat.
Are you old enough to recognize it's got to be the shoes?
And not to be outdone, Catrina Allen makes good with her putt as well. And we're seeing some wardrobe changes, some pants making their appearance, I guess is what you would say. The weather has cooled off significantly overnight, but the putting has not. Eveliina makes good on her putt as well. Really well done.
What a start. Everybody making putts. And as you said, the pants, but also there's going to be, I'm going to spoil this much. We're going to see some wind. We're going to see some rain. We're going to see umbrellas, raincoats, a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
that's going to come into play very soon, actually.
We're going to keep running these flyovers, but rest assured the weather does not look this sunshiny today. Hole number 2, 381 par 3, left to right finishing hole. Reachable for some, but I think we've just seen everyone pretty much come up short. It's a big risk carrying out over the OB. You've got to get the height right. Most of the women are throwing out to the left side. No one's really challenged that right side or straight shot. Just too many trees and obstacles in the way. What a difference.
See what Eveliina Salonen can do.
Good forehand. I think that's tracking a bit early. And there is OB on that right side. You can see the line there, but she'll be safe in the fairway.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind, Eveliina is coming out to moving day, round number 3. This is after the incredible round that she carded just yesterday. She shot a 4 under par, which is unofficially rated 1028. So just trying to follow up and think about that. It puts a little pressure on yourself, I'm sure. And we see Pierce not fully committed to that turnover, or if she was, it just came out on her a little bit too early. And just really can't say enough about how much I like the play from Cat. That's stress-free, that's in the middle, nice turnover, really no threat of danger or OB whatsoever. Should make for easy work. And this is a really low release out of Cat Mertsch.
I think he came up and put that up there after.
Should take a few extra swings, make sure she's good to go. Here she is on her second.
Yeah, we've seen Cat Mertsch make her way onto lead cards and feature cards before. She's definitely no stranger to elite PDGA and Disc Golf Pro Tour events, but her best finish this year, she's had top 5 placements at Beaver State Fling, Jonesboro, and Music City Open. So similar style courses, they allow you to use the distance if you have it, take advantage of the field in that way, but you still have to maintain control. Tons of OB.
And Allen will make a great approach shot from one knee, and that checks up. That should be an easy tap-in par.
And the same sentiment for Eveliina here as well.
Pierce from way deep in circle 2.
Oh, great run.
And she knew that was tracking.
Yeah.
This is for Mertsch to save her par.
And these putts are interesting. For Cat Mertsch's stroke, her putting stroke and form, she has the power to get it in the basket, but you'll notice she doesn't follow through to the right spot and leaves herself right of the basket often. And she's just got to give it a little bit more height and trust it.
And so no harm, no foul in the pars. Not really seeing anyone take birdie here. Maybe in another day or a podcast, we'll have a discussion about FPO tees and or distances with no birdies given up there on hole 2. Here we are on 3, though.
Yeah, with hole 3, we've got that OB river running through the fairway. This challenges the distance of the tee, off the tee, as well as the placement. The fairway continues about 600 more feet once you're safely on the fairway, OB on both sides. There's a low ceiling third shot to approach the green, and once you get there, there's still OB just beyond the basket on the approach. So even the most conservative of efforts on this hole will be fully tested. So far, we've seen a lot of mistakes with placement off the first and second shot, and not too many putting mistakes, a lot of layups.
On this one comes in as the 5th most difficult, averaging 5.96, so nearly a full stroke over par. And that's a pretty good. That's all you really need here on the initial
fair
tee shot.
placement.
I mean, I didn't think it was that funny, but
Catrina testing the low-hanging limb there. Cat Mertsch kicked off her good positive luck on this hole last time. She's corrected. She doesn't need any help from the course this time. That's a great shot.
yeah, we saw her flirting with the out of bounds on just about every shot during round number 2, and here in round 3, like you said, good correction on the first one. Pierce just going with a putter off the tee, playing for the placement.
She is so good with this putter. Yeah, really nice shot there. Again, they've got about 600 more feet, so they're going to have to carry with OB on both sides with the second shot. Probably going to opt for something a little faster, get off as much distance as possible. But when you do that, you give up some of the control. And for players like Eveliina and Paige and Catrina, and I would even go as far to say as Cat Mertsch as well, they have so much power that they can maybe throw a fairway driver instead of a distance driver, which gives them a little bit more control than the rest of the field, someone who needs to throw a distance driver in order to get the distance.
I think the redirect off the tree doesn't really penalize at all. And Paige, you'd love to be about 30 feet left of where she is just because it would open up her angles a little bit more, but she's having no problems with this approach. Puts it right up the middle of the fairway.
Yeah, not a lot of room to shape your shot, that's for sure.
And I liked how this stood up, went to the right, and then just drifted back lightly to the left.
Good.
Solid approach.
Yeah, good correction from her previous round as well, because this was the shot where Catrina Allen carried left and went OB. So far, so good. Keeping her weight back on that follow through, just gets the nose up on the disc and just goes up and up and up into those low hanging trees or low hanging branches.
And pushing up on the low right side, not a line we've seen taken too much this week. Most people are trying to just navigate through the trees, find one of the little gaps, and Kat opted to go out to the right.
Yeah, I like that play from her. That's really neat.
And you know, as opposed to what we were seeing right there from Eveliina, who did get through them but came in low. So likely just a pitch up to the pin to walk away with a par here. Oh, and that's early released or a slip or a little bit of both. That hard left. And she's lucky to get as far as she did.
Yeah. She carried for sure. I really, really like that play, but she's just got to get that timing right. That seems to be having a grip issue.
And a forehand roller is all Catrina Allen has left.
Oh, that's got to come back in bounds.
And it's not going to. So Catrina, who is out of position, trying to go for the recovery shot. I really like the idea, but it just didn't turn over on her. Stood up straight and continued to carry in.
This is an insane play to me. The amount of power this woman has in her jump putts. How many feet was that? That was pretty far back.
Yeah, the fact that she has that much, not only power, but also control, as you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, the combination of the two, really impressive. And Catrina Allen.
That's an impressive shot as well. She followed through, let her body just fall to the ground so that the disc wouldn't ever come into contact with those low-hanging limbs again.
And almost a no-brainer when it comes to running at that one. So from that position, Eveliina is good with the layup, and that's exactly what we're seeing out of Mertsch. And not that any of these players on the lead card should even be thinking about it, but yes, after day 3, there is a cut to the top 16 competitors. Again, this is the lead card, the best of the best. They're not too concerned about it. But
Oh, wow. Great putt by Paige Pierce.
And that's why they're not concerned. That's why they're doing stuff like that.
For sure.
And hole number 3 here today relinquished exactly 0 birdies on the day. So par, certainly good.
Yeah, and one important thing to remember is the wet conditions. It's not only is it cooler out, but the wet conditions change your grip. And that was something Paige mentioned after round 1 in her interview with you, Terry, actually. She said that there was some footing difficulty on the slick, wet fairways, then being from dew and just being how early it was, now from the conditions. And on 18, she just experienced, like, sometimes she'd have too much grip on her disc, sometimes she'd have not enough, so.
Well, as we take a look at the scores, we're going to continue to keep an eye on it. We have the top 10 listed there for you. Like I said, really 16 and in is the biggest concern. But after a brief walk, we find ourselves on hole 4.
Yeah, heading into the woods, about 20-foot wide tee shot. You want to hit your gap and move forward as much as possible into this landing zone or further. Doesn't really matter where you end up because you have to scramble, but ideally you'd get a shot to land up and to the right. And like I said, with distance, you'll be happy. What I'm looking forward to from our competitors on this hole is seeing what options they choose, how they scramble, how are they handling adversity, because it's bound to come. There's not really a perfect spot on this hole because everything is so guarded. And then, of course, the green slants from right to left. see the tee pad is pretty damp.
And although it connected with a tree, it's always tough to determine, well, was that a bad tree kick? Was that a good tree kick? We're just going to have to wait and find out, because a few inches one way or another on this hole can make a world of difference.
Yeah, there's a lot of lines to be found, and as long as your disc doesn't stand up and roll away too far, like we're seeing here from Cat Mertsch, and you just look at this elevation, just carry this disc. This is something that you have to be prepared for, and she seems like she's taking it well.
I think that is a fair way to put it.
A fair way to put it.
Heyo. And trying to put it on the fairway, Pierce.
She didn't seem particularly happy with this shot, but I like it. Good placement. Turning over out of her hand, but with the downslope, it should give it more of an opportunity to come back, and it did. This is turning nicely as well.
Yeah, and I think about the consistency that we saw out of Pierce all 3 rounds now, going with the putter off the tee, just trying to throw something very controlled. And like I said, we'll see what she's faced with. And Kat got great distance on her shot. And Eveliina in what seems to be a really good position here. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
She hits the tree, and it actually darts across the road out of bounds. And really, she finds herself behind what was the tee of 2 from over there. And it's going to be a penalty stroke and an awkward lie due to a Mando she's got to still navigate.
Yeah, we talked about it in previous rounds, and you've actually mentioned it. You do a really good job of explaining it, but just the footing on some of these holes, we have to take into consideration that these players are playing on elevation. So with Eveliina, it seemed like her timing was just a bit off. And it's disc selection, it's grip, it's footing. There's so many factors that come into play when you're playing disc golf, especially at such a high level, and you only have this one shot, and there's all this, energy around it being moving day. So I think a lot of that was just the hillside sloping from right to left, and maybe Eveliina just didn't take it into consideration or took it for granted.
Again, we saw her going with the forehand there because she had to go to the left of one of those birch trees where there's a mandatory, and it was a solid shot, but just short. She didn't get any ground play at all. And Cat Mertsch up to the wood chips. Don't do
down.
It again.
This is like the opposite of what she experienced yesterday. Isn't that crazy?
And it's just
these amazing shots, like these perfectly fine shots that are just standing up and rolling away and really testing her patience.
And that one looked like it could have and should have just sat down.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a really good approach shot. Of course, there is the slope, but that felt like it was more punishing than it needed to be.
For sure. Oh, I thought that was connecting. Great bid.
So a little bit of a hiccup here for Eveliina. Meanwhile, Kat has a look. Doesn't quite get it to fall, though. Now Kat Mertsch, after going to her second nasty roll away of this hole. Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
I like that she's still so confident with that putting stroke. Is
Me
that
too.
kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah, because that is an aspect of the game that can fall apart too. And it does for a lot of women out here, especially at the European Open, because this is such a challenging course. Yeah, just held on to it just a bit too long.
Yeah, and if there's been one struggle that we've seen somewhat consistently from Eveliina throughout the last couple of years, it's been some of those short-range putts. Mm-hmm. I love the comeback. It looks like it was about the same distance, so she was able to quickly forget about it and still make the comebacker. But hole number 4 taking a real bite out of her scorecard.
Yeah, we're going to move on to some scoreable holes in hole number 5. Par 3, 328 feet. Downhill, no OB to contend with on this hole unless you track really, really far down left to the water. So yeah, it's a reachable hole, whether it's with a mid-range or a distance driver, whatever you feel comfortable hitting the line with. We should see some birdie attempts here. The common mistake though is a disc out of flight too early, since the elevation wants to pull the disc left and the hillside can cause some rollaways. But I think throw something up high, slight turnover, let it track down towards the basket, because that green is really quick. So I would throw something slow.
And I'm looking at 328 slightly downhill. Paige Pierce here is lining up with a putter, which we've seen her the first 2 rounds.
Yep, nice and high, understable putter approach.
A little too understable, though.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a straddle putt there for sure. Being in those trees is fine, I think. It's either within the circle or right on the edge.
This comes in as the 16th most difficult, so certainly one of the easiest holes on the course, averaging 2.88 on the day.
That should prove to be a putt for Catrina as well. She did hit the line. Maybe it didn't get as much height on it as she wants, but she's got the world titles. I don't know. That's why you're here, Terry.
And Cat Mertsch was coming in way too hot. Gets caught up by one of the guardian trees, and that'll at least still give her a look. I feel like she would have found the next tee pad had that not connected with a tree. So a fortunate tree kick, we'll call it.
This line is absolutely gorgeous. Oh, that was so good, though. That's a risky shot just for that reason. If it comes into contact with the tree, it's cooking, so it's going to continue to move. Whereas hitting it with a putter or maybe a mid-range, something with a more blunt or beveled edge, more bevel. I don't know how you would say that.
The bevelist?
The most bevel. It'll be slow. It won't track as far.
Get on my bevel, bro. And the bid, a little bit wide, but no problem for Eveliina. Hopefully on the comebacker. Cat at 38, maybe 39 feet.
Drop. Oh, too high.
Yeah, and that was an outright bid. I mean, there was no hesitation there, even though the slope is directly behind the basket. You see Cat Mertsch with a very unique position where the disc had landed.
Yeah, it's got that uncomfortable position. Still had a look, though. Here's Catrina with her comeback for par. There's the proper height. Well done.
Great concentration. Little frustration probably that she didn't draw any metal. Missing high is not common for Cat to go entirely over the basket. Sometimes you see her coming in low, hitting the front of the basket. But and sometimes she'll hit the band on a short putt, but on a long putt, for her to miss up and over the basket, even though this was downhill, that's just not common for Catrina. So I really love the comeback putt. Speaking of comebacks,
we're going to
right
come
back
back
on the hole number 6 here. It parallels 5, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's just another 328 footer. A tunnel shot slightly uphill this time. A very small pocket to get to the green, so everyone has the power, but it's hitting the line that's key here given the tunnel and the small opening to the green. It also has an elevated basket, so even if you make it to the green, the challenge isn't necessarily over at that point. Going for that hyzer flip. I love this.
And nearly
That's
perfect.
great. Yeah. She puts so much spin behind the disc that yesterday we saw some of the women come into the circle, but they were pretty far, like circle's edge or even in circle 2. But Paige has so much rotations on the disc that when it hits, it keeps moving, which is great for this hole.
And Cat had flipped up and gone hard right yesterday. Today it flips up and it just drifts to the right. She's still going to be out of position, it looks like, somewhere in circle 2 with an obstructed putt. So Catrina Allen not dialed in here on hole number 6. Let's see if Cat Mertsch can put... Oh, you got to love this line.
I like it, but it looked like it connected with some of the leaves and it took the rotations off of the disc, so it stopped sooner. That was a great line, though. Maybe a little bit of a slip there on her drive. Eveliina just not getting off these tee pads as clean as she can.
And normally that's one of her strong suits. Eveliina, usually so good in the fairways like we usually find from Catrina Allen, and she struggles sometimes on the green, but that is a great recovery shot.
Yeah, that Anheuser putter is money. That's a great shot to have in your bag if you don't.
And we'll see something similar from
Yeah,
Catrina
another
Allen.
one.
Proving exactly what you just said. That is a shot that you must have, you must be dialed in, and you have to be comfortable with it. You see a lot of people giving away strokes by not having a patent pending stance like that. And drawing up some metal, but not quite enough, is Cat Mertsch. Pierce, short distance.
Yeah, just...
She shorts it.
Yeah, it didn't look like she had a full commitment. Maybe a little rushed there.
Either that, or I'm thinking, maybe when she was planting with her back foot, maybe a little push off.
You know what? Yeah,
the wood chips.
That's a much better assessment than what I said.
It could be either. I'm just postulating here. Like you said, I don't usually question the 5-timer.
Yeah,
but
right.
that's one thing that I think of, just because these wood chips are relatively new. They also smell great, but they're relatively new. And so you go to kind of shift your weight to the back leg. You come through, and the next thing you know, it gives out a little bit. Could have been any one of those things. But after 6 holes, Eveliina still out in front. I mean, she started the day with a full 8 strokes ahead of Paige Pierce. So Paige is going to have to do some real work in order to find a way to catch up to Eveliina.
Yeah, and as the previous hole paralleled hole number 4, this one will parallel hole number... Oh, sorry, I'm all out of place. Well, this one's going to parallel another one, too. Anyway, hi, everyone at home. It's a similar drive to the previous hole given the tunnel, but you need the line and power to get to your landing zone. From there, you've got maybe a putter approach, mid-range approach, depending on how far you are, but it slopes left to right, pulling the disc toward a cliff. If you trickle down that, you're not going to have an easy go of things. So stay on top and get your look for a potential birdie or par, in this case, is excellent.
Spot on. This parallels hole number 4.
Good grief.
Yeah, which Cat Mertsch has already seen part of this fairway during this round.
That could have very well been in her strategy for that hole.
Yeah,
we don't know.
I'm not sure that was by choice, but
you never know.
She did roll across this exact fairway that we're looking at right now when she was playing back on hole 4.
Paige Pierce with a huge drive, taking in that right side of the fairway. That is interesting. Normally we see the hyzer flip, which I know is the play here from Catrina. That's a great correction from the previous day as well. Those are 2 amazing drives, but they were very different from each other.
We'll see what they can do with it. Here's Cat Mertsch. And although pushing back a little bit of the gallery, she's like, okay, now I'm going to play hole 4's fairway.
Yeah, she's going to the other fairway now.
And that's really in that neighborhood of that fairway, so... Stay in your lane, Cat.
Yeah, this is a little low out of the hand for Eveliina, but it's a hyzer, so it's going to continue to climb up the hill. Those were excellent drives. I mean, I would take any of them.
Yeah, and it's at this exact point. You see now umbrellas are up. We're feeling raindrops for the very first time. And look at the forehand here by Mertsch.
I love this play. We've talked about it so much, and I love that she's opting for it. The temptation once you see the basket, I've said it a million times, is to throw to the basket. But in this case, the hill is so slanting and it's so intense that you want to throw something away from the basket to the left and let the hill do the work, bring the disc down towards the basket. Whether it's your approach, whether it's your second shot, whether you're laying up, you really need to take that hillside into consideration.
And in a matter of seconds here, as we're watching this great
Look at
approach
how much
shot.
movement is on this.
And right around circle's edge. And in a matter of seconds, we go from what are a few light sprinkles to what's going to be an torrential downpour as Paige is pouring on
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Paige's friend and caddy, Veronica.
What were you going to say? Paige is pouring on.
Just
You-
pouring
she just took
overall,
you-
just pouring it on.
She just took your breath away with her approach shot because she took all the right side into consideration again. Because same. Yeah, lovely layup there from Cat Mertsch.
And you can't say enough about having a caddy in this situation, whether they're holding towels or umbrellas or keeping your bag dry, whatever the case might be. Having a caddy in this situation is just so helpful for any one of those reasons, even if it's just to carry things.
Yeah, and this course is so much about pace. Just staying in control of yourself, of your game, of your nerves, not really letting any mistake disrupt your flow and your comfortability. If you find yourself out of your comfort zone, doing whatever it takes to get back into it, it's really 4 to 4.5 hours of focus on every single shot.
And raindrops that are this big, that are pelting you, certainly can make you lose focus very quickly. Just thinking, wow, we're only like a third of the way through this course.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the rain's coming down the way it was.
Yeah.
It got very wet very quickly as they're heading over to the easiest hole on the course.
Hole number 8. Yeah, as you said, easiest hole in the front 9, coming in at only 236 feet. It's an uphill tee shot to an elevated pin. The line, not necessarily the worry here. There's a lot of room to move your disc. It's more of the landing zone. So you want to have enough distance to get up into the circle because it depends on whether or not you have an open look or an obstructed one. So there's a lot of stress that comes onto the putting green given the hillside and then the elevated basket. And in this case, also the downpour that is apparently happening to our lead card right now. That's a great drive. Let's see how much movement. It's still a good amount.
Yeah, and she's throwing a fairway driver at that point. And what I like about this, and we're seeing it from Catrina here, it looks like that's maybe even faster than a fairway. Call it a distance driver. She's just trying to play it short of the basket, and then as it's losing speed, it's still slightly crawling up the hill.
Yeah.
And those are back-to-back near perfect shots. I mean, inside 18 or 20 feet. And Kat hiding out underneath the umbrella until the last moment. She's going to still go through a routine. We see a lot of players sometimes start to switch up their routine and shorten it as they're dealing with inclement weather. We'll see if that ends up being the case for Kat, or if she sticks with it.
Oh, wow.
But sticking it on the green.
Yeah, bullseye. And Eveliina with no caddy.
And no coat. And very few towels. There'll be more on that later.
And a great follow through regardless. But will this move? I was worried about that.
It was a good looking line. I thought she threw almost the exact shot that's required. She gets an unfortunate break, but I said it before. There might be a silver lining here that she's taking all chance out of play by just having to pitch it up. You'd love the birdie, but a guaranteed 3 isn't so bad. This is something she has to run at. And she converts. That is a solid putt. Full up hood. Everything. And I'll speak just from anytime I've ever played in rain, especially like this. I can't stand it when there's a hood or something on my head. And so to put up your rain gear, of course these guys have more experience with it, but even little things like that can really throw off a person.
I agree, yeah. But also I really like Catrina Allen's raincoat, and I really want one because it's a really nice color.
Totes.
And if you think so too, leave a comment.
Have any of our viewers given us a commentary team name? Are we going to leave it up to them, Hannah?
I don't think we should really leave it up to them.
Ugh. We'll take suggestions.
Oh.
And that's
An uncharacteristic miss, honestly, from Kat Mertsch. That's got to be really one of the only times we've seen her do anything close to that in the circle in quite some time.
yeah, and it really didn't appear to be grip. Maybe she rushed it slightly, or maybe just kind of took it for granted. And
Yeah. To be fair, there's a lot going on for her. But yeah, again, continuing to just get in control and stay in control of her mental game heading into hole 9. So coming out of the woods a bit and onto the 338-foot slightly downhill par 3, there are 3 different lines to this fairway, and actually this is a good picture. Quickly to the left, in the middle, and over to the right are the 3 lines that you can hit, the 3 gaps. Once you hit the initial gap, there isn't too much of a challenge. The green is slightly sloped, but nothing too intense, so the disc can make its way down to the basket without interruption. But there is wind, or if there is wind, it will start to come to play here. And so that is one thing I don't really think affects the players in the woods. From walking the course myself and then obviously watching coverage and seeing it while they were playing today, I don't really remember wind in the wooded holes being too much of an issue.
yeah, it certainly is shielded and guarded when you're in those wooded holes, but you're dealing more with not only obviously the trees, but also footwork and other things that come into play when you're in those slightly muddier territory.
This is the same mistake that we've seen from Catrina, just keeping it way too high off the tee. And again, this is a downhill hole. We've had 3 back-to-back uphill ones, so they need to make that adjustment.
And really, it's an interesting observation that you see her throwing high on a downhill hole. If anything, somebody might overcompensate, throw it too low, and throw it into the ground because they're trying to match it. But
Yeah.
here you see her releasing it high. And this is the 15th most difficult hole, so definitely on the easier side of the course. And Eveliina deep of the pin.
This is the line that I like for Catrina, and it's weird because obviously I have no world titles. I just got here a couple years ago, but in watching her game from the sidelines and in paying attention to the way that the course is playing, I would much rather see her go for that hyzer flip because she's so good at them. She throws them a lot. And we just haven't seen her be successful in this hole yet.
And you see the brief splashdown as she lands right next to the pin. So should be walking away with a par here. Mertsch just trying to get up and down and walk away at the par as well to close out her front 9.
This is tracking. Yeah, that's well done. Another layup from Paige Pierce as well.
And Eveliina with a lone chance now at birdie. Oh, and online
Wow.
the whole way.
Yeah, really nice. That's a great birdie to grab.
Nervous for a moment thinking it was going to pop back out at her, but it stays in and Eveliina picks up the birdie. 4 birdies on the card, or correction, 4 birdies in the division. Here
That's a
on
nice,
hole 9.
nice putt there from Kat Mertsch as well.
Yeah, great adjustment and comeback. And
Hey, there's you.
oh yeah, I don't have a hunchback. I have a backpack. I swear.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
It's full of stuff.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that.
Cat with a good protective measure, keeping everything dry underneath the umbrella. And hole 9 and the front 9 has dried out on us. We're going to move over to the back 9 and give you guys the conclusion of round number 3 in just a moment. First, taking a look at the advantage that Eveliina has over Paige
Wow.
Pierce. Paige is trying to hunt her down.
Yeah, she's working on it under par.
So for Hannah Macbeth, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you for the back 9 of round 3 at the 2022 European Open in Nokia, Finland.
See ya.